Well, before you get to the biggest game American sports will offer you, you still have to win a really big game to get there. I'm talking AFC, NFC conference championship games. Sunday, we're airing both of them on KTIK. So if you're out and about, keep it here for all your championship coverage. We begin at noon. Let's hit up our Double Tap Pub hotline and welcome a veteran. This guy coached in an NFC championship game once. He won a national title as a player at Idaho State. Longtime coach Dirk Koetter with us today. I thought I'd throw in your national championship mention, Dirk. Everybody forgets you were on that team because you were a backup, but you played a very pivotal role as the scout team quarterback.
Well, I don't know how pivotal my role was, but yeah, that was a while ago. I think we had our 40th anniversary of that championship team this year. So that was a while ago, but a lot of good players and good coaches in that group.
Dirk, did you get a ring out of that deal?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A nice big fat one. Probably not as fat as they are today, but a nice big fat one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it looks nothing like the rings of today. In fact, that national championship ring for 81 is not even close to the ring we got 2 years ago for winning the whatever that bowl game we played down in Frisco.
Fort Worth Bowl, right? No, the Frisco Bowl. I haven't missed it up.
Frisco
too.
Bowl, yeah, for Frisco Bowl. But anyway, you know, the rings. Those rings are a good memento for the people that were there, and it's a cool thing, and it obviously it brings back a lot of cool memories.
Yeah, it was the last time the Bengals were good too, huh, Coach? I got jokes today, Koetter.
Oh wow, yeah, you're feeling it today, Johnny.
I apologize for my partner, as I often do, but that's all good.
All right, let's get to these games, Coach. I've made a pact with myself. If Andy wins this one, I am never picking against him in a big game again. If KC does beat Baltimore, Dirk, how are they going to do it?
Oh boy, that is a good question. Well, let's start with what KC is doing well, and they're playing pretty good on defense. Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, has got that defense. They've been carrying the Chiefs for the majority of the season, so they're going to have to shut down Lamar Jackson. But the thing about the Ravens is they can run it. I believe they're number one in the league in rushing offense. They can throw it, and they're getting Lamar's favorite target is coming back. Andrews, the tight end, has been out for 2 months. Came out today and they said he's good to go. They activated him and he's going to play. So number one, they're going to have to try to slow down that offense. And then number two, they're going to have to execute on their own offense like they did last week. And that might have been the best game the Chiefs have played on offense all season in that win against Buffalo last week. Mahomes was outstanding and he didn't turn it over. And the receivers made plays. I mean, Valdez-Scantling has been dropping balls all year, made two really nice catches on deep balls. They didn't drop the ball, and they're going to have to do that and fight that home field advantage the Ravens have as well. So I think it's an uphill battle, but there's a lot of great stats out there about you're crazy to bet against Mahomes.
Right. That's where I want to go there too, Dirk. You've had conversations with your longtime buddy Andy Reid about Patrick Mahomes. How does Andy describe Mahomes' greatness to you?
It's crazy because what Andy says about Mahomes and what my good buddy Todd Monken, the old coordinator of the Ravens, says about Lamar Jackson, they both use the same word, special. And but Mahomes has just done it more consistently. Heck, 6 straight AFC championship games. But just that the guy's special in everything, the way he prepares, the way he trains, the way he competes on the field, the way he wills that team at times and puts that team on his back. Because let's face it, they have not had a typical Kansas City Chiefs season on the offensive side of the ball this year. They just haven't. They haven't been that team, and they did look like they really had their act together last week against Buffalo for sure. But I think they're fighting an uphill battle. I heard a crazy stat this week. Mahomes has started 112 games in his career, including playoffs. He's got like 85 wins and 20-something losses. In those 20-something losses, only four times out of 112 starts has he lost by more than one score. That is crazy.
That is Dirk Koetter doing homework for Idaho Sports Talk. He's our NFL playoff correspondent, former Boise State coach, former NFL coach, and we're getting you ready for conference championship weekend. Coach, I'm glad you mentioned Steve Spagnuolo. I wanted to go there. There was a fascinating article in The Athletic this week about halftime, and Spagnuolo is a wizard at halftime, and his stats are amazing about, the difference between a first half and a second half, and I think we saw it in these last couple of games. They talked about the flurry of 10 minutes. You've got 10 minutes to win a football game, and it's complete total chaos in the locker room. Take us behind the scenes and the efficiency of trying to get that message out in 10 minutes and making a difference. How does that work?
Well, halftime in the NFL is crazy, and that's why a lot of coordinators prefer to be on the field instead of in the press box, because it takes the guys in the press box, depending on when they can get away, who's got the ball at the end of the half, you might, if you're in the press box, you might only be in the locker room for 6 minutes at halftime.
Wow.
And so all these teams have a halftime plan, where everybody sits by position normally, or they have the chairs already pre-aligned. Linemen sit together, linebackers sit together. They've got grease boards and overhead for overlays. They can show pictures on the surfaces. They can blow those pictures up if they want to. But more so than halftime, I wish they would keep the camera. Spags is a perfect example. Steve Spagnuolo. Those guys are coaching so hard in between series. If you ever get to see on the sideline, Spags is going up and down the bench. Again, they're sitting together by their position groups, and Spags is going up and down, and he's making those adjustments on the fly in between series. And, he has a chance to regroup with all of the defensive coaches there at halftime. But that's why, because those halftimes are just so short. You have to make adjustments on the run.
Joe Blameyer, you've mentioned him before. He's your boy. He's the wide receivers coach, I think pass game coordinator there for Andy Reid, and doing a really nice job making a career for himself in the NFL, the son of Gene Blameyer, the former Boise State athletic director. It seems like he's making a difference. I mean, he's turning that wide receiver group, which has been beat up all season long, and they're doing just enough to win games and not be a detriment. As a matter of fact, it seems like at times they're more of a positive in the end of the season. As you look at it through a coach's lens, what kind of job is Joe Blameyer doing?
Yeah, I was nervous there during the year because every week the receivers were just taking so much abuse in the media for when the Chiefs were not playing well. But I think if you really take it back and look at it now over the course of the season, the Rice kid, the rookie from SMU, I mean, his development has been insane. I mean, he looks like a seasoned veteran out there right now, and looks like he's destined for stardom in the NFL. So, the development, his development, and then, the fact that they didn't give up on guys. Justin Watson, number 84, who, he comes up with a couple catches every game. He was like a 5th round pick that we drafted back in Tampa Bay out of Penn. And he's had a decent connection with Mahomes. Mahomes and Kelsey have always had this deal, but obviously Joe's doing plenty of work behind the scenes, catching extra balls, working on hand placement, and those receivers they peaked last week. When they needed them most, they made the plays.
Dirk Koetter with us, our NFL playoff correspondent. 2 big conference championship games on Sunday. I love Championship Sunday, this big doubleheader, CBS, Fox. We got both of these games on KTIK. So, Dirk, when you're coming back from the golf course, I think the weather might permit this weekend. You can catch us on KTIK. Coach, Detroit at San Francisco. I look at this and I say, okay, Aaron Glenn in the Lions defense against Kyle Shanahan. And I'm a huge Kyle Shanahan McVay guy. I love what they do. I love watching their schemes. That to me is where this game's going to come down to. I like the Niners in this thing. How do you see this thing playing out? Detroit at San Francisco. What do you know?
Well, on one hand, you've got everybody's mid-season pick to win it all in the 49ers. Everybody said the NFC is the 49ers, everybody else. And then all of a sudden the 49ers have a couple of injuries. They got drubbed by the Ravens at that game in Baltimore. Maybe they lost their confidence a little bit. Let's be honest. They didn't look all that great last week. I mean, Green Bay was right there. I think the Niners are going to play much better this week. The weather's supposed to be good. Hey, some quarterbacks just don't throw it very well in wet weather. And I think Purdy got a little psyched out by that rain last week. I mean, he comes out for the first time all year wearing a glove on his right hand, and then he takes it off after one quarter. He was just off. And then Deebo Samuel goes out. It's looking now like he's going to play. The other thing that really surprised me last week, going into the fourth quarter, McCaffrey only had 11 carries, and one of them was that 50-something yard touchdown run. Now he got another touchdown run in the second half. I think Shanahan will lean more on McCaffrey in this game. The one negative to that is I think Detroit's like second in the league in run defense. People have not been running the ball on Detroit. They've been throwing it against those corners. The corners are the weakness of that Detroit defense. So it is going to be a good chess match. And then on the other side of the ball, Goff has played great at home. He's played great in indoor arenas. He has not played as good outdoor. You got to kind of love the whole sentimental side of this Detroit story and what Dan Campbell has done. And, those two home playoff games, very cool to see that city get some home wins. I think deep down it's going to be a 49er win, but I think it's going to be closer than maybe some people think.
We talked to you last week about Dan Campbell and how you respected him because he's doing it his way. He's always been this emotional, physical, hard-nosed kind of guy, and he's just being true to himself and going out and winning games. It's going to take a lot to beat the 49ers this weekend. It might even take some of that crazy emotional stuff. Can his emotions be a distraction or a benefit in a monster game like this? Can you win a championship with emotions?
I don't, to answer your question, I do not think it will be a distraction. I think it can only be a benefit. Now, how the ball bounces and, Campbell has made a couple, he's been very aggressive this year and, faking a couple punts from his own 15, 20-yard line.
Yes.
And sometimes those have backfired.
Yeah.
But if there should be no doubt in anybody's mind that what he's preaching to his team, they've bought into it. I mean, they're with him. They're going to ride with him no matter what. But I do think the 49ers overall are a more talented team, and they've been there before. Not as much as the Chiefs have been there in the AFC, but the Niners have been there a lot.
Absolutely. Dirk Koetter with us, our playoff correspondent. All right, Coach, I want to get into some coaching carousel stuff with you. And I know you're very close with the Atlanta Falcons. I think you've golfed with Arthur Blank before, so you know where the bodies are buried in Atlanta. I was a little surprised that Bill Belichick didn't get the job. They ended up going to Raheem Morris, and just hearing and reading stuff that I do. I wanted to ask you a question on, how much power an owner is willing to give a head coach. That feels like a big deal to me. And maybe Belichick wanted a little more power than Mr. Blank was willing to give him. Is there anything to be said for that?
Yeah, I think there is. I think that's one of the reasons, not even the main reason, that you're seeing this huge trend in all these younger, very young guys getting hired in the NFL. Is because they're willing to give away some of the power and, work more with team ownership, with management, with the GM, et cetera. Belichick had full control in New England, And there's been a lot of articles written in the last couple days. Terry Fontenot is the GM there in Atlanta, but Rich McKay, son of John McKay, the great John McKay,
yep.
is the CEO or whatever. He's got a fancy title, but it's basically the CEO, Mr. Blank's right-hand man. And he's played a lot of different roles for Mr. Blank. He's the chairman of the competition committee in the NFL. I think there's probably something to, I think it's pretty reliable, the rumors out there that Mr. Blank at one time wanted to hire Belichick, and maybe some of the other people in the building were saying, "Oh, this could be a little scary if Belichick comes in and wants all this control, wants all this power, wants to bring all of his own people." We may never know exactly what was said there, but I'm going to tell you, I think Raheem Morris is an excellent choice in Atlanta. I know Raheem from way back. The first time I was coaching in Atlanta was when, at 32 years old, Raheem got to be the interim coach in Tampa. So we have some Tampa connections together. And then the second time I was in Atlanta, Raheem was coaching the receivers for us. So I was with Raheem every single day. And then when Dan Quinn got let go halfway through my last year there in Atlanta, Raheem was the interim coach. And so I've seen Raheem in action as a head coach, as a receiver coach, as a defensive coordinator. The fact that he's coached on both sides of the ball, and he's been a head coach, and he's worked with a GM before. He knows how to do all that stuff. Raheem is a good leader, and he knows football, and he's an outstanding person. I think that's a good choice. And, he could be there for 20 years. I mean, he's 40, in his early 40s, I think. And, wherever Belichick goes, he's not going to be there for more than 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, Dirk Koetter. Hey, if your buddy Dan Quinn gets my Seahawks gig, are me and you going to go to practices and stuff and hang out? Are you going to introduce me to the cool kids, Dirk?
Shoot, me and you were going to be sitting in on the first staff meeting. I'm going to get us right in there. But, what's scaring me a little bit about that is I believe Coach Quinn was there yesterday interviewing, and normally it's, we're down to just two open spots left, and normally they don't let the guy out of the building. So I was fully expecting, after Raheem Morris got named in Atlanta late yesterday afternoon, that sometime last evening that we were going to see Dan Quinn named at Seattle. So I'm a little nervous right now that nothing's happened on that. Who knows? I mean, we're there, but anyway, heck, I had us 2 seats already booked for me and you to head up to Seattle.
See, and Johnny is nervous because he dreams at night, and Johnny's, he has he sleeps on pillowcases of people that he loves and adores. So he's stalking Kellen Moore as we speak, and he thinks it's going to be Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore. So this is my natural transition here to the Kellen Moore conversation. Browns, Philly, and I think he's got the Buccaneers on Monday, but Ballgame wants Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn to work in Seattle. Do you see that?
Sure. I could see that. I'm not sure what they seem like they had a great relationship when they were in Dallas together. So I could definitely see it. And I don't know anyone else off the top of my head that Dan would be thinking of, as his coordinator. I mean, he had the most success in Atlanta when he had Kyle Shanahan, and then when both Sarkisian and myself followed, he wanted to keep that Shanahan system, even though neither Sark nor myself had really run that system before.
Wow.
So if there's another person out of that Shanahan tree, I mean, that's not Kellen, but I mean, again, Dan Quinn and Kellen work together in Dallas. So, we'll just have to see. I find it pretty hard to believe that the other 3 places out of Cleveland, Philly, and Tampa, that if Kellen does interview with all 3, that he's not offered at least one of those. And again, normally this time of year, everybody after these chips start falling, teams get nervous, and if they get a guy in the building that they want, they try to not let him out of the building until he signs a contract.
And Dan Quinn was out of the building, as Dirk says, after that interview. So we will see. Are you surprised, Coach? I mean, you said the trend, everybody's going young, But I mean, it's like Bill Belichick still wants to coach in this league. He's not going to have the opportunity. Mike Vrabel might not get a job either. I mean, it feels like there's some pretty big names out there. I mean, what happens? Like, why is that those guys would be out there in this case? Why would you say?
Well, you know, the trend is just these young guys, like even in their late 30s, early 40s. That's just the trend right now.
Okay.
I mean, you're looking. Vrabel's definitely had success as both a player and a coach, but you know he does have a reputation of not the easiest guy to get along with, and again, you got the NFL is not a democracy. You know, it's a dictatorship. It's run by 32 rich guys who made gazillions of dollars in another business before they got into the NFL, and now they make gazillions on top of gazillions. So I don't know exactly what to tell you there.
That's cool, man. I mean, it's interesting. Like the league, I mean, it will tell you when it's done with you, type of thing. And it could be Bill Belichick, it could be Rich Kotite. The league will be done with you when they're done with you. It's odd. Dirk, before we get you out of here, Super Bowl 58. Who do you think we're gonna be watching in a couple of weeks?
I think the game was going to come down to San Francisco 49ers versus the Baltimore Ravens.
There you have it.
The Baltimore Ravens win it all.
Dirk's got the Ravens winning it all over San Francisco. Prater's not going to like that, but I love it. Okay, Dirk Koetter, can't wait to talk to you next time, and we'll see who gets that Seahawk job. And you might have to hold true to your word on that, Coach.
Well, we'll work something out for sure.
Hell yeah! All right, appreciate you, Dirk. You're the best.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Great stuff. Who do you guys have in Super Bowl 58? 208-424-9300. Back with our Camp Rainbow Gold picks. Prater on the ball game.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios, this is Ticket Traffic.